Team Fortress 2 has been an absolutely riveting monument of memesters lore, and thus, subsequently, Team Fortress 2 has been expanded to Team Fortress 2 Roleplay. I have sunk a lot of hours into Team Fortress 2 Roleplay, let me say. And by a lot, I mean 100% over 60. However, I'm not even sure of the entire count because it's just that much. I've spent a lot of time labbing stuff within this game and figuring out the most broken techniques and features of this game. So thus, that's why I've decided to compile them within the Team Fortress 2 Roleplay Iceberg. This Iceberg holds a lot of advanced techniques, bits of trivia, and other little obscurities of information that will entirely shift your idea of what Team Fortress 2 Roleplay really is. So without further ado, let's go into it. I killed Professor Layton, by the way. One of the first things you'll notice when you log into Team Fortress 2 Roleplay is that whenever you kill someone else, most of the time you seemingly die as well. Now, why exactly is this? Well, this actually has to do with how the blood hitboxes work. You see, in this game, rather than spawning as an aesthetic splatter and such, blood is what actually kills the player within the game. And whenever a player is hit, the game detects that and spawns in the blood to hurt them. And this hurt box that the blood provides extends for much longer than it should, thus resulting in damaging the player that killed them as well, considering that most of the combat is face-to-face and melee. This results in the blood being extremely janky and the hitboxes being an entire mess. Weapon pickpocketing is a strategy that every class can use, however it benefits melee classes such as Medic the best. How you pull it off is, whenever you kill a player, if they're holding a weapon, then you have a very high chance that you will collect that weapon upon being next to them due to the fact that weapons are innately able to be picked up within the game, and thus, whenever they die, they drop their weapons, resulting in the player that killed them being able to pick their weapon up. This is an advanced tactic that can be used within a lot of advanced loadouts for certain classes. Object weapons refer to the fact that there are a lot of weapons within the game that actually have a hitbox rather than just being transparent and able to clip through walls and such. These weapons have a lot of tech that can be circled around them, which will be discussed later. Bleed damage refers to the fact that certain weapons actually consistently deal damage just by touching another player. For example, most melee weapons do this, such as Medic's bone saw, Spy's knife, and Sniper's katana. Useless weapons refers to the fact that there are a couple of weapons within the game that just have no use whatsoever and are thus unusable. This is mainly found within the second weapons for both Sniper and Medic. Uncapturable intel refers to the fact that within the intel room of the game, there is indeed intel, however it is uncapturable and thus is just an aesthetic thing. Poofy Fly refers to the fact that Heavy Weapons Guy, when chosen and outloaded with his minigun, actually has the ability to fly. You pull this off by first rapidly clicking the fire button on your mouse, and then spinning around. Jumping also helps accelerate this process as well. When you do this, Heavy will start flying. Wall clipping refers to the fact that most classes in the game have a pair of weapons that, when rapidly accelerated between, allow the player to clip through walls. How you pull this off with each class differentiates, but as I previously mentioned, most classes in the game are able to do this, bar Demo Man and Sniper. Sentry preloading refers to a strategy that is basically essential to the meta, although not necessarily within all times and playstyles. What you do is you just switch to Engineer whenever you start playing the game, place a sentry down, and then reset. See, Engineer Sentry actually stays beyond you switching out of Engineer, so you can just play an entirely other class with a previously placed sentry and you'll be good to go. Spy binding refers to what is most likely the most overpowered piece of tech within the game, and is essential for playing a competitive spy. Basically what it is that Spy has the ability to entirely freeze players. The cause of this technique is unknown, however, you can pull it off by simply going invisible and then switching to any given weapon near a player. This will entirely immobilize them. However, there is one way you can escape this, which will be mentioned later. Splying refers to yet another technique with Spy, in which the player, when using the mask disguise, can rapidly click it within the air to float and shuffle between this and weapons such as the knife and the pistol in order to spice up their styles of competitive gameplay. Enhanced Rocket Jump refers to the fact that within Team Fortress 2 roleplay, the rocket jump is actually significantly better than it is in regular Team Fortress 2. This is due to the fact that the player has much more free reign over where they rocket jump to, and it just overall accelerates the player much further than it would in the regular game. Pyro Firewall technique / glitch refers to the fact that whenever another object interacts with Pyro's flames whenever they're set down, the flames suddenly engulf into a very large fury for an unknown reason. This also works if you just light a flame on the bridge, but as I said, it's unknown why this occurs. Spy meta refers to the fact that Spy is overall the best class in the game. While most classes are phenomenal and have a lot of techniques that render them a possibility for number one, Spy is number one clearly because he has the ability to just stop you from playing the game by using spy binding. And of course, other techniques as well that spice him up and just absolutely ensure that he is in the number one spot. Flamethrower pop shields refers to the fact that you can actually damage a player through their shield when using the flamethrower's pyro. For whatever reason, the flamethrower always has an active hurt box, so whenever someone walks into it, regardless of their state, they will be damaged. This can be used to kill annoying players who are camping you out by shielding. Medic Medigun player tracking refers to the fact that while Medic heals a player, a beam appears. However, if you keep holding down the beam button and or switch out of another tab with this active so you will no longer have to hold the button, the ray remains no matter where the player goes, so you can actively track down any player within the game by just healing them as Medic. The Engineer lag strategy refers to the fact that Engineer, by rapidly placing and destroying sentries, can end up lagging out the game. While at first this seems like an overpowered strategy that phenomenally breaks the game, this is actually false, because this lag only occurs on the side of the player who placed the sentries, and does not appear for any other player in the game. So thus, the strategy is actually useless. Camping out of bounds refers to the fact that players can go out of bounds and, by using strategies such as wall clipping, can use the out of bounds to their advantage in killing other players and winning the game. There are multiple ways a player can reach out of bounds. One, and the easiest, is probably just walking out and scaling the side, but there are also other techniques such as rocket jumping, wall clipping, and hoovy flying out of bounds. Zombie playing refers to a strange strategy that can happen to any given player upon dying. The most common way to get this to happen is by equipping a lot of costumes and holding an object weapon, although this can happen just out of the blue to any player. What happens is that whenever you die, you'll still have the ability to switch between your weapons and to an extent move. However, you will be dead and can't do much outside of switching weapons and minor movements with those weapons. The cause of this is unknown. However, there are theories, of course, relating to lagging out your own player. No class is a viable strategy refers to the fact that the player can do remarkably well by just selecting no class within Team Fortress 2 roleplay. This is very unusual, however, is possible due to the fact that you can pickpocket weapons from other players and use these weapons to your advantage. In fact, in some situations it might be advantageous to actually have no class loaded out on you at any given time. Pistol knockback refers to the fact that sometimes when any given player is shot by a pistol and they jump up, they will be rapidly shifted over to another side of the map entirely. The cause of this is unknown, however, it may have to do with the pistol animation and the fact that when the bullet actually shoots out, it rapidly increases its momentum from the left to the right, or wherever the bullet is shot from, and thus the player could very well just be tagged onto this. Medic invincibility refers to the fact that Medic is actually unable to die while healing another player. Of course, while this may sound overpowered at first, you soon realize that you can't do much in this state, because if you were to switch weapons, you would lose your invincibility. Another cool thing with this is that if Medic tries to reset while healing another player, he will actually never die. So his healing actually beats the reset damage that Roblox provides the player. The sniper rifle scope is an object refers to the fact that the sniper rifle scope is an object. It's very weird how it's loaded in, however, it appears for all players and actually counts as an object. Further testing with this may provide different results for tech in the future, however currently there is no known tech with this feature. Universally loaded crates refers to a very odd piece of trivia within Team Fortress 2 roleplay. Between the spawn room and the intel room, there is a hallway with 3 crates in it and the red base. However, what's weird about this is that these 3 crates are always loaded within the game, no matter how far out of bounds you are. What's even more weirder is that the crates within the blue base do not have this feature, so it is further baffling why they do this. Soldier is a better sniper than Sniper refers to the fact that, of course, Soldier is better as a sniping class than Sniper is. This has to do with Soldier's rocket launcher being very good in first person and Sniper's sniper rifle not being very good and being very broken overall. If you test this for yourself, then you'll see that Soldier truly is better than Sniper. Scout and Heavy Pacing refers to a very odd, yet very useful piece of tech that has the ability to change the entire way you play the game. This can be performed with any class with a pistol, or any class that can aim their weapon. How this occurs is whenever you aim the pistol in any direction, mostly down, whenever the player dies, their arm will stay within the position that it was aimed, and thus this will change how every weapon is held. When combined with object weapons, you can do a lot of very unique tech with this that blows the game out of proportion entirely. Weapons can control others' movements refers to the fact that object weapons actually have the ability to move players without them wanting to be moved and can entirely shift their momentum. You can best perform this with Heavy Weapons Guy's minigun and with Pyro's axe. However, Soldier's shovel and a lot of other weapons do the same tech as well. Post-death shooting refers to the fact that many classes actually have the ability to shoot their weapons after they die. Mainly this tends to occur with the pistol, however, there are very rare cases where this can occur with other weapons. This can be used to shake up your strategy and to kill someone after they've killed you, but of course with the blood jank physics, that might happen anyways. Spy binding escape tech refers to the fact that the previously mentioned spy binding can actually be escaped by none other than Spy. You see, whenever Spy is in the spy bind state and cannot move, all he has to do is use the invisibility cloak and he can move again. This tech, paired with spy binding in general, just continues to render Spy the best class in the game. Heavy BLJ refers to the fact that Heavy can do a movement very similar to the BLJ from Super Mario 64 by utilizing the Scout and Heavy pacing tech. Whenever Scout and Heavy pacing, if you switch to the minigun with Heavy, it will be aimed downward, and whenever shot at like you would whenever Heavy flying, without jumping or spinning, he will actually rapidly accelerate across the floor, thus doing a sort of BLJ. If you utilize the same technique and try to Heavy fly, you can actually enhance the Heavy fly experience entirely. Stalk elimination strat refers to the fact that while pinning down a player's location with the medic beam, you can also use weapons that are either pickpocketed from other class or an entirely other player to clip through walls and such in order to pin down any given player and stalk and eliminate them, as the name suggests. Extreme map alteration refers to the fact that there are a couple of weapons within the game that can spawn in objects and thus change the map entirely if the player so chooses. These weapons include the grenade launcher from Demo Man and also the sentry from Engineer. As far as I'm aware, these are the only two weapons within the game that can do this. However, there could be a couple of other potential possibilities. The totalitarian strat refers to the fact that yes, you can indeed control your entire enemy's team's movements. By combining Pyro, using object weapons to shift their movements, and a number of other strategies, you can entirely control the game. Pyro is the most important class refers to the idea that Pyro is indeed the most important class within Team Fortress 2 roleplay due to his capabilities in constricting the map for enemy players. This idea heavily banks on the firewall technique, which has the ability to block out entire passages with other players, and of course just engulf them within flames, basically making an entirely new wall. This pairs nicely with the totalitarian strat that I just mentioned. Advanced tech consistently beats hacking refers to a proven fact that with all of the crazy advanced tech within Team Fortress 2 roleplay, it has actually been proven to be better than hacking. By utilizing tech such as spy binding, hoovy flying, and basically every tech that I've listed on this Iceberg, it's possible to render any hack useless and to just entirely dominate a hacking player, which is very unusual and unorthodox for a Roblox game. TF2 Roleplay's true spawn location refers to some inconsistencies within dying and spawning that leads players to believe that the spawn location is actually entirely separate from where the player appears to spawn. For example, whenever a player dies, sometimes they'll randomly teleport to a spot within the map, and sometimes when they're spawning, the same instance will occur. This, combined with other bits of evidence that can be found within playing the game regularly, lead players to believe that the true spawn location is actually dead center of the entire map, not actually where the team spawning is. Metagun is the best weapon refers to the idea that the metagun in Team Fortress 2 roleplay is indeed the best weapon. Now this may sound very odd considering that there is seemingly no way for it to cause damage. However, it has been tested and proven that the metagun actually has the ability to outright instantly kill players. Now, this needs a lot more research in order to prove how it fully works. However, what the idea is that whenever a couple of given conditions are met that are currently unknown, and Medic resets, he can actually kill whoever he is healing along with him. As I said, this needs a lot more research. However, whenever this is consistently figured out, this will definitely be the best strategy in the game. Even beating spy binding, because, well, whether or not medics bind, he can still heal players and subsequently kill them. And finally, at the bottom of this iceberg... You're kidding me. And finally, the very last entry on this iceberg, Demo Man is the best class. Now, for a long time, Demo Man was widely considered the worst class because he had seemingly very few abilities, 2 of his weapons didn't really work, and the one that did work was very inconsistent. However, it has since been found out that Demo Man stickies actually naturally gravitate to specific points on the map. relating directly to where the player is, and these can be memorized and combined with sticky jumping, which exists in this game as well, and just outright tracking where a player is, it's possible that Demo Man could be the best class in the game. Now, Demo Man's grenade launcher also has the ability to launch objects, and while these are very small, these have the potential, the hypothetical potential, to entirely alter the course of the game. This idea is entirely hypothetical, however, I personally believe that it is the case that Demo Man is the best class in the game, however, all of his tech hasn't been found out.